right now, there's zero reason to believe the impact of conference realignment on Notre Dame football will suddenly derail things, especially with conferences scheduling more conference games. Sounds like more out-of-conference games, big out-of-conference games, could be scheduled as well. If anything, this SEC 9-game conference schedule opens doors wider, ensuring that Notre Dame isn't iced out of big-time matchups. USC has recently shown potential for dropping this rivalry with Notre Dame, with conference expansion pulling teams in different directions, increasing travel and everything else. There's been a real worry that this rivalry could fade away. Oh boy, in the ever-shifting landscape of conference realignment and conference expansion, there is one team that is on everyone's mind, and it is Notre Dame. Here at the Big Ten Huddle, me and Zach and others have talked about the possibility of Notre Dame joining the Big Ten multiple times and how much that would be beneficial for the conference, especially when it comes to their football program. More valuable than anything else with that school when it comes to conference realignment, the Notre Dame football team. Well, Heather Dinich recently came out. She added to some of those thoughts with her latest report over at ESPN, breaking down the SEC's move to a 9-game conference schedule starting in 2026. If you want to hear more about that, I did a whole video on it with Jeff, so I'll link that one down in the description. If you're on podcast, it'll be down in the description. You can find it there as well. But essentially, each SEC team will now be required to schedule at least one non-conference opponent from the ACC, Big Ten, Big 12, or the other one is Notre Dame. Every single season, they'll need to play at least one opponent from those three conferences or Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame is lumped in there as an independent powerhouse who is recognized as a Power 4 type of program. And in Heather Dinich's report, her sources close to the Fighting Irish program are saying this, quote, further solidifies our independence, end quote. It's a big win for Notre Dame, and the SEC isn't turning its back on them. In fact, they'll keep playing the non-conference games against the Irish, and I think they'll enjoy doing that as well. It's a good game for them. Notre Dame's typically up there pretty high, and it's one more team that plays in and around conferences. So if you beat Notre Dame and Notre Dame beats their ACC teams, gives you a really good argument there. That means their future series with Alabama, Texas, and Florida will likely be moving forward as planned, and there's even room to add more SEC teams to Notre Dame's slate if they choose to do so. Add in their rock-solid TV contract with NBC, the NBC sports deal that's been a cornerstone for decades. Altogether, it brings a clear Notre Dame playoff path in the expanded college football playoff, and you've got all the keys for independence to be locked in for the Fighting Irish for the foreseeable future. No wonder Notre Dame feels untouchable right now. They're going with this. This is what they feel like is good because ultimately, at the end of the day, this is what Notre Dame wants, to be independent. But this is a Big Ten show, so let's talk about the Big Ten. But before we do, please do like, subscribe to the channel or on podcast. We talk every Big Ten team here and would appreciate you rocking with us. Anyway, all of that, everything that I just mentioned, the SEC schedule, everything is fuel for the endless Notre Dame Big Ten rumors that have been swirling ever since the Big Ten added USC and UCLA, even really before that, but that's kind of when they started the most. So fans have been knee-deep in the college football expansion drama for years now, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, especially when it comes to Notre Dame, as they just fit so well with the Big Ten and everything they do, the way they align things, but there still is the threat of the ACC out there eventually adding them someday if Notre Dame does need to go to a conference. But this SEC move is a game changer that slams the door in any immediate push for Notre Dame to join the Big Ten. In the midst of all this conference realignment in college football right now, Notre Dame has thrived as an independent even when scheduling Power 4 opponents got tricky last year. It was well documented by rivals and other people that they only played 8 Power 4 teams last season, talking about the lack of strength of schedule, everything else. They're playing 10 this year, so not the same scenario, but you'll still hear rival fans talk about their strength of schedule, as rival fans should. It's a rivalry. It's what you do. Typically, it's around 9, and it's been that way more than enough to keep the Fighting Irish competitive and in the playoff races. Right now, there's zero reason to believe the impact of conference realignment on Notre Dame football will suddenly derail things, especially with conferences scheduling more conference games. Sounds like more out-of-conference games, big out-of-conference games, could be scheduled as well. If anything, this SEC 9-game conference schedule opens doors wider, ensuring that Notre Dame isn't iced out of big-time matchups. USC has recently shown potential for dropping this rivalry with Notre Dame. You see, the USC versus Notre Dame game has been one of the best rivalries in all of college football, but with conference expansion pulling teams in different directions, increasing travel and everything else, there's been a real worry that this rivalry could fade away. Yet even if it does, Notre Dame's independence looks more bulletproof than ever thanks to the SEC's inclusive approach here. So this whole thing makes Notre Dame Big Ten rumors, in my opinion, just super ice cold. It actively pushes the Irish closer to the ACC and their existing schedule packed with them, because conference realignment has turned the ACC into a 17-team league where you have Pacific Coast teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Tell me how that makes any sense. But anyway, they need to follow suit. The ACC needs to follow suit with a 9-game conference schedule as well. The only problem is that the math isn't mathing here. As Brett McMurphy pointed out on X, Twitter/X, it's basically impossible for a 17-team league to evenly schedule 9 conference games each. And an ACC athletic director told told On3 that they've got the smartest schools in the Power 4, so they'll, quote, figure it out. I'm going to resist the urge to go at the better academics, smartest schools statement there. That's another podcast. But let's call it what it is. This whole situation for the ACC is a massive headache. With an odd number of teams and an odd number of games, someone's getting shortchanged here. Maybe one school has to play 8 or even maybe 10 conference games while everybody else plays 9. That's not what they want to do, and it reeks of absolute chaos. But if you enter in Notre Dame, that could be the fix in this situation. The simplest solution would be to count the games against Notre Dame that they already play as ACC teams as a league game or a part of their conference record for scheduling purposes. I know it sounds a bit absurd. I get it. Like, it sounds crazy to me too. But, we also live in a world where Notre Dame's athletic director sits at the table with conference commissioners. While he's representing one school, these conference commissioners are representing 15, 16, 17, 18 different schools, hashing out the future of the sport. And it's just like, this is kind of ridiculous and chaotic, but let's just shoot it straight here. It's college football, and secretly that's some of the reasons why we love this sport so much, because of how ridiculous and chaotic it can be. Notre Dame's nudge toward the ACC does torpedo Big Ten rumors, in my opinion. I don't think the Big Ten has a hope of snagging Notre Dame in the near future, at least for now, which puts that classic, thought of the rivalries and everything else with Big Ten teams in total jeopardy. Michigan versus Notre Dame was awesome in the past, but they've dropped that game, at least until they're home and home. They have scheduled in 2033 and 2034. Then comes Purdue versus Notre Dame. I believe that game was dropped around 2015, but it's an in-state rivalry that recently got reinstated. I think last year was the first year for 5 years, but there is nothing on the schedule beyond that in the future. And I know, I've talked about the USC versus Notre Dame rivalry a lot, the cross-country clash, whatever you want to call it. I think that's a pretty good name, cross-country clash. Just came up with that right there. There's pure tradition and needs to continue every year. But it's looking bleak at this point, as it doesn't look like USC is going to continue to schedule Notre Dame in the future. In this era of conference realignment, those games need to be played. But Tony Petitti's response will be the key to what happens here. The Big Ten and Notre Dame do share an NBC tie-in, and Notre Dame is facing at least 2 or 3 Big Ten squads annually right now. You have Michigan State in the future, Purdue right now. This is something that literally both parties could benefit from for Tony Petitti to start including them more in the scheduling. So amid all this schedule expansion, could we see an agreement of some kind? Maybe it's something official, maybe it's not even official, and they're just like, hey, go play Notre Dame, where the Big Ten and Notre Dame start kind of working together in some ways? Or will the Big Ten commissioner Tony Petitti just completely play hardball and freeze Notre Dame out like some fans want him to do? Well, Petitti's not one to shy away from tough tactics. Big Ten fans know this all too well. He and the coaches played hardball with the schedule at media days. Some Big Ten fans loved it, some hated it. And he went as far as even to leak talks about a 24 or 28 team playoff. But with USC versus Notre Dame on shaky ground right now, it wouldn't shock me at all if he leans into isolating Notre Dame away from the Big Ten. Honestly, I don't think that's what happens. I'm just saying it wouldn't shock me. Petitti's own words from the Joel Klatt show back in June tell the tale. It says right here, quote, "Look, I think Notre Dame has got access. We've all agreed that they should have their path and access. I don't think anybody is suggesting that we change that for them. It's not something that they'd be obligated to do." He goes on to say, "There are certain parameters that are guaranteed, and we can't come up with a format, for example, where the conference champions aren't in. That's what we agreed to." So even with the discretion that we have together with the SEC, there are parameters that we've agreed to on certain things. Part of this is Notre Dame's access. I'm fine with that. End quote. Now, does that mean that Tony Petitti is going to include him and put him in the schedule? Maybe not. But does it show that he has, thoughts of Notre Dame and their inclusion in college football and not trying to take them away from their independence? It sounds like it. The translation here to me is that the Big Ten's likely to mirror the SEC's inclusivity, keeping Notre Dame in the mix for games, especially with teams like Michigan versus Notre Dame or Purdue versus Notre Dame. It's smart business, honestly. It boosts TV ratings, especially when they involve the NBC Sports deal together, and strengthens Notre Dame's playoff path. All this to say, conference realignment and conference expansion have made one thing very, very clear. Notre Dame isn't bolting for the Big Ten anytime soon. The SEC's 9-game conference schedule solidifies its spot in the ecosystem, and the impact of conference realignment on Notre Dame football looks to be much more positive than it was even just a few years ago. Their independence, backed by Notre Dame's TV contract and a guaranteed Notre Dame playoff path, is as strong as ever. Sure, the Notre Dame Big Ten rumors, they'll persist, right? I have them at the top of my power rankings to join the Big Ten right now. They're going to persist. It just makes too much sense to not have rumors about this team joining the Big Ten. But it also just makes too much sense for Notre Dame to not join a conference, right? To stay independent. College football expansion keeps evolving, but as long as the Fighting Irish have a TV deal, as long as they have a place where their Olympic sports can be played and be competitive, and as long as there's a path to the playoff, they are fine and dandy being independent, and the Big Ten, honestly, should probably just move on. Now, we as fans probably won't move on because we're fans. We don't have to, right? But the Big Ten overall probably should just move on at this point. Listen, that's all I got for you. Thanks so much for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. We are amped for an awesome season of Big Ten football, and we will be bringing you videos, live streams, and more nearly every single day during the season. We got power rankings, game previews, instant reactions, playoff predictions, top 25s, me, Zach, Jeff, and our other guests who are going to be here this season. We got it all. We hope you follow along on YouTube or on the podcast. Everything we put on YouTube, we'll put on podcast, and everything we'll put on podcast, we'll put on YouTube as well. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.